Thank you so much. As I mentioned previously, I've had such gusto for what I'm about to talk about, but I had to give a presentation about it. Today I want to talk about ants, Google's 2011 AI Challenge. Now, what do I mean by this? Oh, I forgot. This is also a tale of enthusiasm and perseverance. Enthusiasm because that's all I can think about, and perseverance because there are really some challenging things that you have to overcome when working on this. This is also a tale of obsession and frustration. Obsession is all I can think about, and frustration is there are really a lot of tough things that I have to overcome when working on this. It's been a lot of fun for me recently. So what do I mean when I say ants? Not this, not my ants. I also, I don't really mean these ants either. So I hope some of you will be relieved. What I really mean are these ants. Now this is a programming challenge put on by the University of Waterloo and Google, and they have a challenge every year. This year it's ants. Here is the basic map that you're dealing with when you're interacting with these ants. You see there's a game board. There are cells within the game board. Each of these circles represents an ant hill. Each of these circles represents an ant. Now, each differently colored ant is controlled by a different bot or AI that is programmed. So it's not a video game. This isn't someone sitting there driving these ants around. And these ants must be programmed to do things like avoid water squares and attack other hills. So that's the basic premise of this box. Now, one of the drawbacks of this board, which I thought would be interesting today, is that I can't actually show them to you, show you how a real game looks. So I brought my iPad, and you can pass this around. If you get stuck, Donnie is a little bit familiar with it, but we'll just try to overcome. There's two buttons you need to worry about: the play button and the back button. So just hit play, and you can see what it looks like. Now, in the meantime, what is the first thing you need to do when you're working on these ants? Because the original bot that you get here is pretty dumb. The original bot you get is programmed to go in one of four directions. It's not very smart at all. It's going to try to go north, it's going to try to go east, it's going to try to go south, and it's going to try to go west. In that order. So the ants will try to go north, then they'll try to go east, south, and west. So if they're blocked, that's what they'll do. There's also another basic concept that you need to be aware of with the ants. The ants have a certain vision that they can see around them. They can't see the whole game board, so they are exploring in the dark. And generally, that looks like this. So each ant can see a certain distance around itself. And so, for example, this ant cannot see this food square, and it must explore to find it. So what does this north, east, south, west look like in practice? When your game is running, each ant will come out of its anthill, and it'll try to go north first. North, 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 and then it's blocked. Can't go into water, because what happens when you put water around ants? They don't like it very much. So now your basic dumb ant will try to go east, and it'll try to go east again. And now it finds it can go north again. Now that's a pretty boring game because it's not really attacking anyone. And it's pretty dumb too, because it can very easily get stuck. So if I'm going north, 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 I'm stuck. Now I try to go east, I can't go east. I try to go south. Oh, here we go. South. Okay, now what do we do? Try to go north. It's very dumb. These ants are very dumb. So you have to try to give them some intelligence, and that's what this challenge is all about. The first thing you want to do is have your ants try to go towards food. So I have an ant here, And what I really wanted to do is head towards this block of food. So I wanted to go north, 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 and then detect that, oh, there's food to the west of me, so go over there. So that's the most basic thing you can do. And once you do that, your ants all of a sudden stop behaving like idiots, bumping into walls, and they start detecting where food is. Now, how do I do that? I have to find where all the food is on the board and figure out which piece of food is closest to me. Now, you can do that by calculating the distance directly. But that's not quite right, because this is the board is a grid. So really what you need to do is find the Manhattan distance. So that's the number of rows plus the number of columns, and that'll give you the distance. That's what's called Manhattan distance in the game. There's another thing that you need to do right away before your ants can be considered competent grown-ups, and they must not walk into each other. Because what happens when two objects exist in the same space? They blow up. They die. So if this ant sees this food over here and tries to go this way, and this ant sees this food over here and tries to go this way, what do you get? You get a big explosion, right? They die. So you have to keep track of that. And once you start doing that, your ants begin to have a semblance of intelligence. There's some emergent intelligence there, and it starts to look like a real anthill. There's another thing your ants must do. They must never block the ant hole. Because if you block the ant hole, when you consume new food, new ants won't come out. So the last thing you must do is get off the ant hole if you're on an ant hole. I don't care what else you're doing. If there's no food for you to go see and there's nothing for you to explore, get off the ant hole, because other ants might need to come out of there. Now, so I've talked about vision a little bit, and I've talked about some of the priorities like finding food or getting off the ant hole and not bumping into each other. Now, what do you do with the rest of your time? Because sometimes you'll have eaten all the food in your local zone and you won't be able to find, and you won't see any others. So I mentioned each ant has a bit of a vision around it. So that ant can see about that far. And that ant can see about that far. And because these ants have explored out a little ways, and because they started at the anthill, the amount of squares that they can see is about that. So what you need to do next is explore any unseen squares. Finally, what you must do is attack any ant hills that you know of, because that's the goal of the game. Because if you want to win, you have to take down the other ants. So maybe over here, these green ants are finding this food. So that's the highest priority. But then, if I know about these ant hills, they need to go attack this enemy ant hill. Something I have talked very little bit about here is water. Now, I've talked about how to go towards food and how how you might do that with distance. But what happens in this situation? What happens if I try to go towards this food? I might go this way, this way, this way, this way, and then, oh, I'm blocked. So what do? I have to generate a pathfinding algorithm. I have to use a pathfinding algorithm to find it. So I might do something like ask myself, is this square best or is this square best? And then I might ask myself, is this square best or is this square best? Or is this square best or is this square best? And so I can do that repeatedly until I can get to the food without a problem. And that's one of the biggest challenges in the game, because these pathfinding algorithms are expensive and they cause you to time out. Now, I had one other that I was going to talk about, but I don't think I can do it justice in the time anyway. So there are a lot of other things that once you get to this point, you need to start thinking about. There's strategy. How do you deal with other ants that you encounter? If you're one-on-one with another ant, you're going to get zapped if you try to attack it. So maybe you step back. If you're two-on-one, you can overtake them. Maybe you can think about things like food density. How much food is available in the world that I've explored, and are my ants too overcommitted? There's a lot to this. I'd really encourage you to check it out. Give it a try if you're at all inclined to programming, or if your son is. It's at aichallenge.org. And I hope that I've explained to you what I've been obsessed about good enough so that you can understand why I'm obsessed about it. Thank you.